The composition panel, or the comp panel, is where you view your work as you're working on layers in the timeline panel. So I want to give you a brief tour of the comp panel. To do that, I've just created a very simple project. Just go up to Working Files here, After Effects Projects, and open up 0404 Comp Panel. This project has one composition right there, and that composition has one object in it, one layer, this video file from Digital Juice, the stock footage here of some gondolas in Venice. And this is the composition panel, the comp panel, where we view our work down here in the timeline. If I take my current time indicator here and just kind of scrub along like that, you can see we can sort of fast forward through this clip. You notice that as I go faster and faster, it gets kind of pixelated suddenly. I'll explain why that's happening in just a moment. Go back here. First thing I want to talk about is magnification. How zoomed in are we? Right now we are at what's called fit. We're fitting this video inside the screen as best we can, and that's set down here with this drop-down menu called magnification ratio pop-up. Click on that and you see it says fit. That's the default view. I'll just click that away. You can see how fit works. It goes to the edge of the screen that it hits first. Here it hit the top first, so it stops there. If I start bringing this in from the left to the right, you're going to see that it's going to shrink down even from the top. There we go, like that. I'll pull it back, fill it up again. If I want to zoom in on part of the clip, zoom in a bit on the clip, there's some keyboard shortcuts to do that, or I can also use the zoom tool. The keyboard shortcuts are the comma and the period key, and if you look at the comma and the period key, they have a less than and a greater than symbol that would kind of give you an indication of what they're going to do. Period key zooms in, comma key zooms out, less than and greater than. If I click on this layer, you're going to see something called the anchor point. The anchor point is that guy right there in the middle. When you click the period key or the comma key, it's zooming in on the anchor point, the center of the image there. Sometimes you want to zoom in on something in the clip, not just on the center like that. And there are a couple ways to do that. You can take the zoom tool over here. Now the zoom tool is a keyboard shortcut Z. And the more you work with After Effects, the more you're going to use keyboard shortcuts on things as common as the zoom tool, the selection tool, and the hand tool. Hand tool is H, selection tool is V, zoom tool is Z for zoom, right? If you click on that, though, right now, the zoom tool turns into a little plus inside the magnifying glass. And wherever the plus is, that's where you're going to zoom in. So if I just hover my plus over this couple here in the gondola and click, we're going to zoom in on them. There you go. If I change it to this blue area there, we'll zoom in on that. If I want to zoom out, I hold the Alt key in Windows, the Option key in Mac, and that turns it into a minus sign. See that we're zooming out on those folks in that one. It's actually moving this thing around in the screen. Plus or minus, I hold the Option key. Now I need to go back and get the selection tools so that I don't always have the zoom tool here. And after a while, that can get kind of tedious to do that. The keyboard shortcuts really work better. So rather than clicking on this guy, I'm just going to press the V key, and then we're back to the selection tool. Now, if I want to get this thing centered back up in fit, I can go back to this flyout menu here and click on fit, but it's much easier to use a keyboard shortcut for that as well, and that's Shift // That's the little / below the question mark. Shift / takes you back to fit. If you just press the / that takes you to 100%. That's 100%. This is all the pixels being displayed at 100% inside the screen here, which is not the same as fit. Now, when they're in like this, and then we're zoomed in at this particular point at 100%, sometimes you might want to move the screen around to kind of take a look at some part of the screen. If I just take my selection tool and move around, it appears that I'm moving the screen around, but what I'm doing is actually moving the layer around inside the composition. I'm going to go back out and show you that by going Shift // and you see that I've actually moved the layer inside the comp. It's not what I want to do. I'm going to reset that by going down here inside the layer and opening up this first layer like that and seeing the word transform, clicking on reset. That takes us back to the starting point. But what I want to do though is sometimes zoom around inside here without actually moving the layer. To do that, I use the hand tool, this guy here. That's H for the hand tool. But there's even a better shortcut for that than pressing H. Just press the space bar, then you have this temporary hand tool. Once I let the space bar go, we're back to the selection tool. Hold it down and I can move it around. I'm moving around the entire comp, not the layer within the comp. See how that works? So if I zoom in again by pressing the / to go to 100%, and now if I want to move it around without actually moving the layer inside the comp, I hold on the space bar and move that guy around. Who needs the H when you can have the space bar? Same thing with zoom. Instead of pressing Z, for example, or clicking on this and then letting go, if I hold down Z with my finger and then don't let go of Z, just hold it down, it turns into the zoom tool. I can click. And now when I let go of the Z, it goes back to the selection tool, just so you know how that works. Let me zoom back out to fit by going Shift /. There we are. Another thing you can do is you can zoom in on an area very specifically. If you hold down the Z key for a moment to turn on the zoom tool, but don't let go of the Z key, just hold it down for a second and keep it down. I can just draw a marquee around these folks and it'll zoom in on them like that. Let me zoom back out by going Shift /. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can use that as well. There's all kinds of ways to zoom in and things. I've got my scroll wheel here. I'll push it forward. That zooms in. Pull it back. That zooms out. Notice how it zooms in on the anchor point. See how it's always centered there? If you want to zoom in on an object like this couple right here, I hold on the Alt or the Option key, Alt in Windows, Option on Mac. Now I roll my scroll wheel and then it goes at that spot because I've got the Alt or the Option key held down while I'm doing this. It's a pretty cool little thing, but it takes two hands to do it, right? I'm going to go back and zoom out again by going Shift /. There you go. So that's the magnification. There are multiple ways that you can zoom in or out on a clip and also move in or out on certain areas of a clip. Plus, you can take the hand tool and move things around just by pressing the space bar down and move things around like that in case you need to see a particular area inside the clip. All right, there are a few other things down here in the bottom of the comp panel, and we're going to kind of gloss over them. You can see the current time indicator here matching where the current time indicator is here, 3 seconds in one frame, 3 seconds in one frame. There's a thing called taking a snapshot. If I click that, it takes this little snapshot. It doesn't store it on your hard drive like something you can access later as a file. It just temporarily stores it so that if you go someplace else in the clip or you make some changes or add some effects, you can click this little guy here and take a look at what you took back then, just to kind of compare things. That's all that is. This is resolution, and it adjusts how the playback goes to try to compensate for how well your computer can handle all these graphics that are going on at any given time. I keep it set to auto all the time, and notice that now at auto it's playing back at 1/3 of the resolution, meaning it's not showing all the pixels or it's not computing all the pixels as we go along here, which is a good thing. I think it's best just to leave it at auto, but sometimes you want to drop the resolution manually. So take it on the quarter, for example, you'll see that it gets kind of fuzzy looking there, just a little bit fuzzier. I'll go back to auto. These other guys turn on transparency if there were transparency here, but this thing covers everything up anyway, so you won't have any transparent areas here. A couple of the things that we won't discuss now, active camera and view, are used when you work with 3D. And we'll talk about this one, though, fast previews. That's why we saw the pixelated thing a second ago when I went zipping through here and they started getting pixelated really badly like that. That's this guy over here, adaptive resolution. If I open this thing up, you'll see that it's set to adaptive resolution, meaning that as you move things along, it's adapting to the speed as you're pulling it through. And if it's going way fast, then it's going to make it really pixelated with really chunky looking video until you slow things down. If I have it on off, meaning final quality, then it'll always look good, but it may not play back smoothly as I drag through here, like so. The best setting, I think, actually is fast draft. If I just press the space bar to play this, that's the keyboard shortcut to play. It tries to play it as best it can. It's going slower, as you can see, but it tries to play relatively high resolution. But I usually just keep it at adaptive resolution here, just to make sure that things go smoothly, even though it might look kind of chunky here as I go along, because I know it's going to settle down when I stop. That's good. So those are the basic controls, keyboard shortcuts, and tools that you're going to use when you work inside the comp panel.